I want to share with you guys just some common language and some of the stuff we do when we're working with our kids in terms of like behavior and just sayings that we have that will help you guys when we're working with the students. In 2014, approximately 65% of our students they qualified for a free or reduced lunch. We have now moved since last year. We're now a completely free school in that all kids that come here get breakfast and lunch for free. We also do things like backpacks with snacks, stuff like that. We just have a lot of need in terms of poverty and stuff like that here.
And just to put that in perspective, if you don't have a child, or do any of you have school-age children? I know Michelle does because I coach her daughter. That means for a family of 4 that they're living in the $30,000 range in Bettendorf. So I mean, you can put that in perspective with what you make and trying to feed and house 4 people is what would be free lunch. So it's not fluffy by any means. They're struggling to get help, and so the free breakfast and lunch is part of the National School Lunch Program. Davenport has 17 schools that are doing it this year. We were the only school in Bettendorf that had high enough need to qualify. It's a little bit controversial, but we are excited that it's a no questions asked kind of program, and anybody and everybody can benefit from our lunch and breakfast.
Also in 2014, about 58% of our students required extra interventions and support, whether it be through like academic supports, but also we have at-risk lists and potential dropout lists and doing programs through that. So we have a lot of programs that we run to kind of pick up our students where they need that support. So okay, so goals for the partnership. We got together and just kind of talked about what do we want this to look like. And so one of the goals is just to provide Armstrong students with strong role models from the Bettendorf community. I think that's really huge for us, especially people that know the area. You guys work at Alcoa, you drive by where they live and things like that. And providing students with just another positive adult in their life. A lot of the times the classroom teacher becomes that person for our kids, but anytime we can get another person to help our students, that's always really important. And we've been really pushing, obviously reading is so important, and we've really been trying to push like a passion for reading, so we've focused a lot of time on that, especially within the last few years. And I think the biggest thing is just providing you guys with a positive memory of this and an opportunity to get to know some little kids that you might not have known before. And I think it's going to be really beneficial for you because we have some really fun, awesome kids that run around our halls.
They are. That have great stories to tell.
And they will tell you everything you ever would want to know about. So.
No filters here.
Yeah. So here, Jenny.
Okay, so kind of the what, where, and why, the logistics of what will happen when you come to our building. What you will do, basically read to students, having them read to you. At times, certainly if you want to build that relationship playing games, we'll have all of that available when you come. We have talked to Becca Eastman, our 21st Century Academy, kind of our Rocket before and after school program. She runs that, and she has all of that on there. She said absolutely when they come, we'll know that they're coming and who they're working with. You just show up and we'll have it all ready for you. Where? In the library if it's available. If it's not, like if you're coming in the afternoon, maybe the library or the music room, we will find a place. As Lisa said, our building is big, and we'll definitely find you that quiet spot that they can read to you or that you can read to them, so you don't have to worry about that. So when you come, you've already checked in, so you're in the system now. When you come in, you'll always come into the office to check in first, and then depending upon what time you sign up for, we'll let you know where to go. If it's in the morning, it'll definitely be the library. If it's in after school program, you'll probably walk to the Commons, which is the lunchroom, and meet up with your student and then go to the library. So we'll let you know that when we know what time you're coming. Why? Well, just research shows that reading aloud helps children acquire early language skills. A lot of our students come with huge deficits in vocabulary. In print even, we have students that have had no exposure at all to print. or to any, like to the zoo. I had a student tell me he'd never even been to the zoo. We were talking about, you know, so any type of even life experiences. So building vocabulary, just building that oral reading language, which is one of our huge goals, is fluency. So they can read aloud and hear good modeled reading being read aloud to them. Research shows that it does help with those early language skills. It develops, obviously, positive associations with books and reading. We want them to love reading and have a passion for reading. And it obviously helps children build a stronger foundation for school success. A lot of research behind that.
And I hope
Yeah.
some of the other partnerships we've had in the past, the adults that come in share their passion. So if you love comic books, or you love chess, or you love science fiction, or whatever it may be, you know, anything you can do to introduce those things to the kids. They'll have their own books, you know, books, fiction usually, or chapter books. Maybe it's a series you love to read as a kid, or reading the magazines or newspapers. Anything we can do to just get them to have a positive relationship with books, that they don't feel like, oh, there's something else I'm not going to know all the words in. They're going to ask me questions about it. You know, they just kind of get a negative frame about what reading means, and hopefully you all love reading if you're here, but
Right, and then just that interest level, you're right, like maybe they love animals, and you'll get to know that as you talk with them, like, oh wow, what do you do? And like this one little boy loved cats, like he was crazy and knew all these facts, so obviously he read about cats and he loved it. Or maybe it's comics, like you said, just all sorts of different print. That if you even want to bring in something, you know, I've traveled to this, you know, to Africa, like my husband was born in Africa. One little boy loved monkeys, well my husband had a monkey growing up. So we read all about monkeys in kindergarten, and I showed him Julie, Mickey's monkey, that he had growing up. He could not believe it, and every time I see him, do you have more pictures? I mean, that connectedness, and then it connects to their world, and that, you know, that builds that brain power when they connect those learning. So as you get to know them, you guys, like Lisa said, bring in things that you love. You know, if it's a little girl, it might be dance and fairies, and you know, who knows? So
a lot of the give and take when you read
Yeah.
the child is those questions, WH questions, who,
Yes.
what, when, where, why, so that they start to get more ownership of what they're reading. Like someone might ask me about such and such, and this is, you know, and for unfortunately a lot of our children, they don't have that give and take. There's not an adult that isn't super busy all the time to give them time to just talk about what happened at school today, or up in a book that they're reading. And when you don't have those kinds of conversations from 0 to 5, your vocabulary just is less than
By
everyone else's.
by like
And
3 million in
you're
high
playing
school.
catch
Not
up.
bad.
And my story, I think I've shared more times than not, is this summer, part of our summer programming, 21st Century grant, provided morning school to the kids and then afternoon park board here in Bettendorf, and they go on weekly field trips to the zoo and Splash Landing, the pool, different places. And we had 65 kids at the pool, many of whom had never been to a public pool before, even in Bettendorf. And the kindergartners were running around like they were going to go back to the locker room, these 3 boys, and I was like, no, you have to stay in the water near the adults that are watching you. And they were like, no, we have to go get our coats, I kept saying it. They were frantic about getting these coats, and I was looking at the locker room and I'm thinking, it's 90 some degrees, they are not putting coats on. And I said, what coats are you talking about? And they said, the blue ones like Matthew has. They're life jackets.
They didn't know what the
No one had ever told them what that word was, what it meant. They hadn't actually experienced a life jacket. And so it's filling those gaps in for kids that you just, you know, think are part of people's childhood. And could you go your whole life without knowing life jacket? Probably. But it just is an example of there's lots of words they just don't ever hear or see, mostly because they don't have experiences to acquire them. And that's what books can do. Books can, you know, show you things that you might not ever get a chance to do, but interest you. So they did get their life jackets.
They got their
They did assume though that having them on meant no water went in their noses, and so then they were like face down in the 0 depth eating water. That's another lesson.
Yeah. Not a life lesson.
Swimming's another lesson.
Yeah.
If you flip your sheet over, we're on the back. I think partly for me too, and they cover the reading part, I think the big thing that I'm hoping we get out of this is that you guys really form some strong relationships with some of our kids. And so you'll learn, like I said, all about them. And just like any building, we definitely have behaviors that we see that, you know, we work to improve on. So I just wanted to give you guys just some information about, you know, what we do here in terms of like our addressing behaviors. You probably won't ever have to do that, but it's just good to kind of know, you know, the language just in case. So
just kind of an asterisk, if you do have a child that, and we'll get to this, but is being inappropriate, like saying inappropriate things, doing inappropriate things, things that your adult mind is like, I don't really know how to handle that. You know, you can always if I'm not here, one of us, you can let the office know when you check out, and we'll follow up with that child, because, you know, they understand it's a privilege that they get to have this special adult that works with them, and they still have to follow the rules in that environment. So, and the other thing is, occasionally people aren't a match, like they just don't click very well together for whatever reason, and that's totally fine. If that happens, we'll assign that child to another adult or find an alternative, and try again with another kid. So don't feel like, you know, you have to force something if after a few times it doesn't work.
Right. We are a PBIS school, which means we're positive behavior interventions and support. So anytime you can throw anything positive at them, hey, I'm really excited to see you today, you're reading so well with me, they really respond well to that. So we, like I said, we work to really acknowledge the positive behaviors that we see. And if you start building that up right away when you meet with your student, they really respond to that. And we follow ARMS is what it's called. It's just an acronym for some of the things that we work to do well. So A is for active listening, R is for responsibility, M for manners, and S for self-control. So if you're sitting and you're talking to them and they're like really distracted, you can say, oh, are you showing like active listening or something like that. Like I said, don't feel forced to use this.
It's common.
It's just
they
common
would
language.
understand that right away.
So if we said arms, they
They
would
would-
say,
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you're
Let's
showing
see your
arms?
which
Yeah.
is Armstrong.
And
Yeah.
positive.
It's an
I love
astronaut.
how you're doing positive
Yeah.
manners.
And they'll tell you,
Respectful.
actually, if you ask
Yeah.
them, what's this ARMS thing I think I heard about, they'll tell you all about it.
Uh-huh.
So that, you know, it's just something to work, especially if you're working with the same kid for a long period of time, they'll start to get comfortable and you might have to remind them just about a few things. So, also I just thought it would be cute to throw in here, we do bucket filler and bucket tipper is what we're doing, which is how we describe treating each other right. You're like filling someone's invisible bucket. Or if you're making poor relationship choices, you're probably being a bucket tipper, like dipping into someone else's bucket, taking like their good feelings and stuff. So if you're with
That's
fourth grade,
the fuzzy counselor
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You don't have to worry about it if you're with
My
fourth grade a
bucket's
lot. You
great.
probably won't have to use that so
Yeah.
much. But same thing, like you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. If I did it, I admit it. Like these are just phrases.
Maybe
and
I'll make
stuff
a
that-
bookmark for you guys.
Yeah.
Like, just a little cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I can do that.
But like I said, I guess my point in this was, I mean, if you really are building that relationship with a kid, you might have a chance where, hey, you know, did something happen? Oh, this happened. Well, you know, if you do it, you admit it, and you know, you can use kind of what we use here. So there's that, and it is very fuzzy and counselor-esque. So.
Do you have any questions about that? And you know, and even if they do something they shouldn't do, try to make it positive, but you also can just say, that's not okay, stop, or please don't do that again. They should respond.
Right. Okay, and then this is just coming from, this is from our school district. This is about confidentiality, so I'm going to have you guys take one and pass it down. We do have a confidentiality, I guess it would be called statement that we follow here in the district. Any volunteers that come in are required to kind of learn about this and then sign it. So the first thing is, just while you're volunteering, you may hear or see like privileged information. So it could be about academics, it could be behavior, it could be anything really that's going on in that student's life. This information, we use a lot of that information here in a school setting because we need it in order to work effectively with our students. But it can be really highly confidential. So any information that you may see or hear during conversations while you're here, or you know, just anything, you know, it should remain private. So even like an unintentional mention of like confidential information during conversations inside or outside of school is a breach of our confidentiality. So I guess an example of that would be like if you're at Governor's and you're saying, oh, I'm working with so-and-so kid, say the name and say something like not everyone would know. That would be like a breach of confidentiality.
Yeah, like his
So-
mom was in the hospital today. Or,
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, and I mean, this is a good
Not
example,
something.
like this is their private academic information that if you had really good vision, you could probably see where you're sitting, their names and their scores. Sometimes their health conditions, like if they have lice, we'll try not to give them to you if they have lice, but if they have maybe something not that intense, broken arm.
Now they're all like,
Now we're all like,
there's lice at school. There's lice at
I automatically
Okay, delete that part, Marcia.
yeah, Mercy. We don't ever have kids with lice.
But the kids do, sometimes they get comfortable enough to share, like, you know, my dad was arrested
Right.
last night, you know, we're living at the shelter, like things that are really personal and break your heart. But, you know, it is that North, and I don't know how many of you live here, but, you know, you just never know who's connected to who, and, you know, it's always better to be safe than sorry. And they're little people, and they're telling you these things not for you to share, but just to listen, so.
And actually, I guess I didn't really say this, in the same token too, if you hear something like that, if they say something that you get that feeling like, oh, you know what I mean, that's kind of, I don't know, you can always come and find me, that's my job. You know, you can come find me and we'll talk about what they told you and, you know, then I can take it from there and figure out what's going on. I mean, I don't know how much you guys are going to be in and out, like you said, and I don't know, you know, how close you're going to get.
And we're mandatory reporters
Right.
to
They say something you have
DHS,
to
so
say.
if, I know we had a partner last year that really felt the child was in a neglect situation, they weren't having adult supervision at night, they weren't being fed regularly, they were like 8 or 9, and so they reported that to us, and then we made the call into DHS to look into it, so if those things happen, it's better just to report it, and we might go,
Just tell us.
oh yeah, we know about that and it's already been taken care of. So yeah. And then I also have to say, this is kind of like Grand Central Station in here, so it was a little quiet this morning intentionally. But depending on what time of the day you come, the nurse or one of the 2 secretaries will buzz you in, and then you'll sign in. But there may be kids doing all kinds of things in there at that time.
Don't be
so
alarmed.
don't be alarmed.
Okay, so that pretty much I think covers what we wanted to just share with you guys. Again, thank you so much for this help and this support. I mean, I came from the high school. I was a high school teacher and then came here to Armstrong, and I never thought I was going to be an elementary person in my whole life, but I fell in love with it pretty quickly. It's an easy school to fall in love with, and easy kids to really care about. So hopefully you guys have that same experience and you can go and get some more people with us. So. Is there, anyone have any questions or anything like that?
Well, you touched about how we might be assigned a kid every time when we come. We would be with the same child. Okay.
Right, is that what you guys, yeah.
And then you'll just pair us up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and chances are,
And if they aren't here, you know, send you maybe another kiddo or.
So maybe you could give us some background from someone
Yeah.
here about what is Alcoa's support to you as a company to be able to do this, or
Very
supportive.
Very
Oh,
supportive.
good.
They encourage this.
okay,
Part of-
Yeah.
It's part of our values and vision statement.
Excellent.
okay, awesome.
so you is the vision that you'd come once a week? Have they set any parameters of what
For,
commitments?
from what I've been sending out, it's been once a week. And a lot of, you know, especially with the different schedules in the plant, some people are going to have to be going different days than they would be able to go the same day every week. But we've told them we're very lenient. Like, we just want volunteers. And, you know, if someone can't make it 1 week, I'm sure we can find someone else to go. And I did have a question about that, actually. So if you're going to be paired with a kid, say someone can't come at the same time. Maybe 1 week they come in the morning, 1 week they come after school. How would that work? Would that be okay if they had 2 separate kids that they would see at different times?
We
or-
probably could put
Yeah, we'll
2
just work
kids
it
with
out.
1 adult, and then some of our kids are here after school and some aren't.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why I was.
Which will,
If you tell us the time, we'll definitely look at it, and you can just let
Okay,
us know, like,
'cause-
this
yeah.
person might, morning, whatever. Just kind
Okay.
of let us know what works. And then I'm thinking in terms of communication, like if they can't be here, just to let us know, but I don't know.
they usually in the past have called the office.
Yeah,
And left a
okay.
voicemail or
That'll
told the
work.
secretary.
Okay, and I can put that in there.
Yeah,
in the
just so we
email
know,
people
and the kids.
And what's a good number to call?
359-8275. And maybe someone, if it's you, Kylie, could do a,
8275.
like a spreadsheet of just the volunteers' names and then their.
Yep,
their
she's
choices.
got.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. She was all set. I was like,
Thanks,
I was
Marcy.
thinking about that, Michelle.
Yeah, and we also were wanting to have some sort of sign-in sheet here, if that would be all right, so that we could,
Yeah,
prove that
that's,
people actually showed up and the time that they came and.
our
because-
online system has a way to track that.
Ah, perfect.
Oh, okay, great.
So when you check in.
So you
That's
can
as long
even
as
like
you
print us off
indicate-
something and.
Yeah, that you're now a volunteer.
Awesome.
I'll have to ask Kimberly how often would you want updates like that?
We were thinking maybe every 2 weeks. Do you think that would?
What works?
Week or two?
Yeah, what works
Just-
best for you for that? I mean,
Well, once she
That's
knows how to
amazing.
like set the report, she can run it as whenever you need it.
so yeah, bi-weekly would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive it works that way because when John Deere comes to do the United Way Day of Caring, we're able to print a list of everyone that was affiliated with John Deere.
Okay.
So we'll work on that side of it.
And I had another question. You mentioned something about maybe bringing personal items in order. Is that
In
what you were
terms of
saying?
reading, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So meaning we could bring a book if we wanted to read that to them, or
Absolutely.
pictures if we wanted to show them.
Absolutely. They love that
Okay.
personal connection.
So is there any sort of like approval process that has to go through? Like how would we know that the book that we want to bring is
appropriate. I mean, you guys are smart,
Yeah.
intelligent. You know, I mean,
Okay, just
clearly,
making sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Just try
But
to
that's
steer
a good thing.
from religious stuff would be my only
Right, that's a good point. Yeah.
public school friendly information
Crystal clear.
and not graphic.
Right, just political. Anything else I should touch on?
And then would we maybe want to consult you if we have a book that we really want to read to a child, but we're not sure if it's at their grade level?
If you're reading it to them,
then
it's
that's okay.
it's fine, absolutely. Yeah, if they're reading it, they're probably going to be reading something at their instructional level that they have.
From the teacher.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
exactly, because of their little books that they read.
Okay.
And we have a tub of games like
And we have
checkers,
games
chess, Candyland, like all of that.
All of it.
kind
So
of
we'll
stuff
have all of
we'll
that
have in there
available
for
to you too.
If you want to read some of the time and then wrap it up with a game at the end or
Exactly.
do something fun.
They'll love that.
Tic-tac-toe, it doesn't take much.
No, it does not take
They're
much.
happy.
They love everything.
I'm trying to think if there's
When does it
anything
start?
else.
Does it start next?
Yeah.
Next week.
Next
Yeah.
week, okay.
That's
Oh,
what I
that
have
was
on my
the-
calendar.
So we are a balanced calendar school. We're the only school in Bettendorf that is. Which sometimes is a little confusing for volunteers, but I can have,
What does that mean?
so that means we start right around August 1st, and so we're actually just finishing our first quarter tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we take a 2-week break in October, we come back, and we take a 2-week break in December, and we come back,
The
we take
last 2 weeks, yeah.
2-week break in March, and we come back, and we go till about Father's Day.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be starting next week.
You
Yes, you
can,
could.
actually, you could start next
You
week
could.
and get connected, and then the week of the,
6th, 13th. So you'd have 2 weeks before we're actually off for 2 weeks.
and the week of the 20th is, we call it Fall Intercession. It's kind of like camp.
Yeah.
Kids can choose to come one of the.
So if we're reading a book about driving, we shouldn't take them out and teach them to drive.
Right. Or like, Bridget, you probably don't want to take them 74 and show them 74. Probably wouldn't work
Sure,
out.
it's like YouTube. And
Yeah, probably wouldn't work very well. So.
we do have iPads available, so if at any time you want to show them something cool, I mean, obviously appropriate, and I use that a lot. I'll show them a video. We were talking about, I forget this author and musician, and they were like, they loved it. So just fun little clips. So
Sometimes I was reading like a bird book with someone, and
Yes.
we looked up,
What
the
kind of
sound of bird, like what sound this bird makes. And it was like out, like for days afterwards. Can we get the iPad and listen to more birds?
Yeah, right. I know. It's just
Like, here, buddy.
it opens their whole world. Yeah, the podcast will be available as well when you come. And,
I have 2 questions, and maybe you mentioned these, but I know that everybody's in the system now when they come in, but do they still need a driver's license every time they come in?
yeah. Once they're in the system the first time, they just still sign in, but they'll already be in there. So
Okay.
no driver's license.
And parking, is there a better place,
Yeah,
good
you can
place?
park right up front.
Yeah, if
There's
I mean,
not
if this is all
space.
full, then you can go to the sides. There's parking on the sides.
Just after school, if you come like at 3 and you're getting ready to come for the, don't park over there because the buses and
Okay.
car, they pick up over there. That would be the only time you couldn't park on this side.
Okay.
And if you need to, I've parked across the street, in front of the blue, that's okay too.
Okay.
If it happens to be full for whatever reason. But usually you can find a spot in here, especially if you're coming early.
And if, when I get here, I've come in, I've signed in,
Yes.
is there somebody specific I should be asking for?
I will let you know. So once you sign up, I'll let you know where to go. Like, if you're in the morning, you're always going to go to the library. You're between 7 and 8. If you're after school, you're always going to sign in and go to the lunch area and meet your buddy.
Okay.
So if you come at lunch, you probably would come here and they would page your kiddo to come meet you in the office, and then you could go to the library. So
And maybe
Okay.
we can give them just a real quick
absolutely,
tour of
sure.
the spaces they'll be in.
Really quick, we had a question about like if the kids want to ask about like you really form a relationship and want to hang out, outside of school. I think in the past like we kind of steered away from that with like lunch.
Yeah, I've done with high
Pals.
schoolers and junior high.
Yeah.
It's easier in that sense, but I've never really touched on
I think if
elementary.
it's something you're really interested in, we could reach out to the family on your
Mhm.
behalf and connect you that way. We have a program like that already
Should
here.
be
Did you tell them that?
I did.
Yeah.
I just
But
briefly
Shooting
mentioned
Stars,
that.
it's
Yeah.
the same concept,
And
but
my
we've
little
always
girl's been
done
in
it
my
with
house
staff
for a while.
members, but we could
Mhm.
expand it if
They love that.
we got the green light to do that.
My little girl always wants to come over.
So you
Jump
can't
on
take
my
them anywhere.
trampoline.
Take them where?
We were just laughing.
You
It's
can
like, so
take
we're
them
reading about
to
Forest
Wendy's,
Camp
the
in
new
your
Wendy's. That's
Oh,
our calendar.
gosh.
That's the new Wendy's. It has a fireplace now. There's our calendar. It's like the best thing ever.
Are any of you Bettendorf people besides Michelle? You are?
I'm a Michigander though, so I'm still not an Iowa.
Alright.
Oh, wow.
Where at? I have to do
Right.
it.
East
Okay.
Lansing.
Michigan?
I have family up here.
Oh, pushing the border. Pushing the border, yeah.
And they always say about.
Is that by Eastern Michigan University?
No, that's about an hour away. That's Ypsilanti.
Oh, right. I
so,
couldn't
yeah.
pronounce that.
But
It's
yeah, no, I moved down here originally for John Deere, and then moved to Tennessee for John Deere, and then moved back for Alcoa. So I'm like back in Iowa. So everybody thinks I'm from Iowa.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So just to explain the colors, maybe so you know. So October, like the 13th, and you can see, I'm sorry, not the 13th, the week of the 20th is fall intercession. So most of our kids are here during intercession. And then the 27th to the 31st is fall break, no kids.
With dark green, yeah, as nobody's here. My dark green rows.
And anytime you see the dark green, that's what that means, like Thanksgiving week, the 2 weeks in December, the 1 week in March, etc.
Oh yeah.
So I'm volunteering on Fridays, so next Friday the 17th is
Exactly.
So I will not be.
No, we're done. We're not.
Next Friday's the
17th.
I'm sorry,
Oh, it's
2 Fridays.
yeah, the 17th. We're not here.
What day it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not using that day, okay.
But you're welcome to come back the 24th if your student is in intercession.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And you will let me know that then,
I'll
or
send
something?
Bill Joe.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, ready for your little tour, field trip?